What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I got another tier list for you guys, and I want to go over what I believe are the most realistic financial milestones that most of us should try to hit by the age of 30. So pretty much once you hit that last day of your 29s, most of these financial milestones are definitely a good benchmark to check off and say, you know what, I did that before the age of 30. Now, if you are very financially literate and you're watching this video, you might have 60% of these complete already. But for the average person who isn't necessarily financially literate, doesn't know where their money's going, I would say these are a really good benchmark to start aiming for as you get older. So let's go ahead, let's break each one of these down. I'll let you guys know where I rank them. And as always, if you guys enjoyed this video, I would appreciate a subscription and a thumbs up down below. Let's get into it. All right, so to start off this list here, we have the milestone of credit score. Now, my personal belief, by the age of 30, most people, if you have good debt payoff techniques and habits, you should be around 720 credit score. You can see from this little screenshot I posted in 2023 and 2024, most millennials were sitting around a 690 credit score. I think most of us can do better than that. Now, having a credit score of around 720, let's call it, that's a good milestone, right? But it's definitely not something I would say you need to stress about. Once you're in that 700 range, whether it's low 700s, high 700s, you're pretty much already getting access to the best rates on things like car loans or credit cards or mortgages, whatever it might be. And chasing a higher credit score past that, in my opinion, doesn't really change your life too much. For me, it's more so about maintaining those good habits, paying on time, and keeping your utilization as low as you can. And it's just overall having a good credit score is a really strong indicator that you're doing things right financially, not just staying out of debt, but also if you have debt, you're good at paying it off on time in X, Y, and Z. So having a good credit score, 720, I think this is very solid. You know, if you can hit this before the age of 30, I think you're in a very good spot financially. Next up on the list here is having a $50,000 positive net worth. Now, to give you guys a quick rundown on net worth and how I like to measure it. First of all, net worth is calculated very simple. It is your assets minus your liabilities, very simple. Now, when it comes to looking at the average net worth, there's usually two metrics. You have mean and median. Mean takes averages, and the problem with that is the really rich people who have billion-dollar net worths heavily skew that number upwards, whereas median is simply the midpoint. So if we look at the midpoint of all people in their 30s, you can see based off this screenshot here, it's around $24,000 in the positive. So in my opinion, getting to your 30s, trying to have a $50,000 positive net worth, so double what the midpoint is, I think is a really strong indicator that you're doing really good financially. And it not only shows that you're really good at just avoiding debt, but you're actually building towards a very big financial kind of footprint, right? Whether that's growing your investments, growing your savings, growing your equity, growing anything it might be that can play into your overall assets and positive net worth. This isn't one of those goals where it's like if you don't have a $50,000 positive net worth, you're just super far behind. I just think it's a really good thing to strive for before you reach the age of 30. So I think this is something where this is also very solid. Now, if you're out there and you're like, wow, $50,000 seems low. If you think about it, you know, when people have a house and stuff like that and you have those big loans playing against you, sometimes it is very hard just to be in the positive net worths. Next up on the list here, having $100,000 invested. Now, this can be in a 401k, this can be in a Roth IRA, this can be in a taxable brokerage. Frankly, I don't care. As long as you can have $100,000 invested before the age of 30, I think this is an amazing goal for most of us to try to strive for and try to reach. This is definitely a goal of mine. And this is a huge milestone if you can hit this before the age of 30, because a lot of people don't. And if you have $100,000 invested, you've probably already done the hardest part. And most people will tell you that hitting $100,000 is extremely difficult. After $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, it becomes a lot easier because now your money really has a nice foundation to start working for you, to start compounding over time. And it just makes everything a lot easier once you hit that 100,000. This is a great number to kind of strive for and to really reach and have a good goal of. So I would say by the age of 30, this is something you need, because if you are able to hit this, it's just going to make your 30s easier, your 40s easier, your 50s easier, and it's just going to make your financial journey a lot smoother. Next up on the list here is let's just be rich, right? Me personally, I don't think this is realistic for 90% of people. Also, as time goes by, I get more into finances. Maybe this is just a me thing too, but I just don't see the need for this. Like, yeah, I want a nice house. Sure, I want a nice car. But it gets to the point where it's like, it's just cars. It's just a house. Do you really need the 5 Ferraris, the mansion, the yacht? Me personally, I'm good without that. Maybe you love those things. Maybe that's something you need. But trying to hit this before the age of 30 because everyone wants to enjoy everything while they're young. We want the most money while we're young. We want to enjoy everything. No one wants to wait till they're 65 to pull out of their Roth IRA. Do you need to be rich before the age of 30? Absolutely not. Now, if this is a goal of yours to reach this by 30, more power to you. But me personally, I don't think this is really a good tell for 90% of people to think this is something they need to reach before the age of 30, let alone stress themselves out to try to hit this goal. Next up on the list here is maxing out your Roth IRA. And I think this is a really strong financial habit to have by 30 because not only is it going to show investing consistency, but it's also going to show that you're prioritizing kind of that long-term financial growth. Now, a Roth IRA is super powerful because the money you invest goes in after taxes and then it grows completely tax-free. So when you're ready to pull money out in retirement, you don't owe anything on the actual gains, and that can have huge payoff over time. Now, right now, I think the max you can invest on a yearly basis is $7,500, and if you're over 50, it's a little bit more, which makes it one of the easiest ways to actually start investing while you're young. Now, the amount itself isn't crazy. Like I said, it's $7,500. I personally believe by the age of 30, you should be able to afford investing that full $7,500 because that's, once again, going to give you the most payoff and the most gains. And it's going to make your 40s easier, your 50s easier if you're able to do that earlier than later. Now, the hardest part, obviously, is doing it every year. And you definitely don't need to max it to be in a good spot. Like, if you can only invest $2,000 into it on a yearly basis, you're still moving in the right direction. You're still doing the right thing. But I think by the age of 30, it should be a goal of all of ours who really want to grow financially to really try and push ourselves to max it out. So I think this is something that all of us need to at least try before the age of 30. Next up on the list here is having a financial system that actually works for you. So when I say a financial system, I'm talking about personal ways that you have found that work for you when it comes to budgeting, when it comes to saving money, when it comes to investing, when it comes to debt payoff. And more importantly, what I think really works or has worked for me is also mixing in a little bit of automation because let's be honest, we're humans. We like to make excuses when things don't go our way. So by having stuff set up automatically, it's very difficult to make those excuses. So for example, when I used to save money and invest money manually, I'd have all these random excuses like, oh, I had a bad day at work, or my thumbs hurt, or I'm tired, or I don't want to do it, or the market's down. But when you have it set up automatically, you're saving money every day or every week. You're investing every day or every week or every month, whatever it might be. And that financial system is really what's going to carry you forward on the days where you really don't feel like caring about your finances. So I think by the age of 30, all of us definitely need this. I think we need a financial system in place that works for us because it's just going to make our life easier. It's going to lead to a lot less stress, a lot less anxiety. And frankly, it's one of those things that you can sit down and probably in a good hour or two know exactly what financial system is going to work best for you. Next up on the list here is having a solid portfolio. By having a solid, diverse portfolio, whether it's a 3-fund portfolio or whether it's a mix of individual stocks that are all very diverse, it's a great goal because it's going to reduce a lot of the stress and anxiety that a lot of people experience in the stock market. When you lean too heavily one way, whether you're all in on tech or you're all in on precious metals or you're all in on real estate, while sure, there might be months of bliss where you're getting, huge gains, months where that sector is really down, you're going to start stressing, you're going to think you're losing money, and a lot of people won't hold through those times. So by having a solid, diverse portfolio, it's making it a lot easier for you to navigate when things are very down in the stock market because while tech might be super down, you might have precious metals holding you up a little bit. Or, while real estate might be super down, you have your strong ETFs that are flat. So Having a solid portfolio is just a very solid move for most people. It's definitely not a strict requirement because, some people just have all their stuff in a target date fund and call it a day. But if you're into investing, you care about it, you want to know where your money's going, I think this is very solid to have by the age of 30. Next up on the list here is retired in your 30s. So by the age of 30, you want to retire. I don't think this is a goal that most of us should try to hit or a milestone that we should try to hit financially by the age of 30. Now, look, if you're out there and you're 17 and your goal is to retire at 30, more power to you. You do you. But me personally, I don't think this is a goal we should try to reach because more than likely, this type of outreach goal is just going to cause you a lot more stress and a lot more anxiety when it comes to your finances versus actually empowering you to be a financially responsible person. So this is just a no for me. So this is more towards my American audience here, but having a timeline to pay off your student loans, I think is a super important goal to have before the age of 30. And the reason why is because we know school can be very expensive. And I have heard stories of people paying off student loans in their 40s, in their 50s. And it's just ridiculous. And I know they're very expensive, but I believe if you want to be a financially responsible person and you want to hit solid financial milestones later on in life, I think the bare minimum is to have a solid plan around paying it off sooner because it's going to save you money on interest. And also, it's going to free up your cash flow a lot earlier, which then you can use to invest, build wealth, save, whatever it might be. So that being said, you don't need to go extreme and throw like every single paycheck you earn at your student loans. But even if it's paying it off a couple years sooner, having some type of visible plan to attack student loans, I think is very good to have. Once again, I don't think it's necessary because I know this falls down the list of priority for a lot of people, but I think it should be a little bit higher on that list of priority because, once again, I've heard crazy stories about people taking years to pay off student loans. Next up is telling yourself you're going to avoid investing when the market is red. This is not a good financial milestone, obviously, and this is something that if you are close to the age of 30 and you're still avoiding investing because the market turns red sometimes rather than green, you need to get out of this mindset as soon as possible if you want to be anything close to financially free in your future. By the age of 30, most people should know that while yes, the market does go red, at the same time, it does go green. And you just kind of have to hold through the red. It's going to happen. It's going to suck. But you're not losing that money until you sell. And for most of us, even at the age of 30, you are probably not going to pull profit for the next 20 years. So why would you care if the market is red today if you're not going to pull profit for another 20 years? By the age of 30, you should be fully invested with some of your money. You should know that red days don't matter, and you should be able to look past them and continue forward in your financial journey. Next up on the list here is buying a house. Now, this is obviously a great goal. If you can afford a house anywhere, right? I think this goes for my whole audience here. That's amazing because I know I can't. I think this is a great goal, but by the age of 30, I do think it's definitely very difficult, especially in the economy we're in. Obviously, a house comes with a lot of great perks. It's going to increase your net worth. It's an appreciating asset. It gives you a place to raise a family. It gives you a place to call yours. But a lot of houses, people don't know, come with a lot of hidden costs. Maintenance is all yours. Landscaping is all yours. Roofing, everything, anything that goes wrong in a house, you're going to have to pay for. Whereas renting is a lot more flexible. You can move around. And obviously, if something goes wrong with your apartment or whatever you're renting, you just call the landlord, the apartment complex. They come fix it for free. While it might take a little, it still happens. So I think overall, buying a house in your 30s, or at least, before the age of 30 or right when you turn 30, I think this is not necessary. I think it's a great goal if you want to try and reach that and achieve that. But for the average person out there, this is not a, milestone you need to reach by the time you hit 30. It's very difficult nowadays to actually afford a house. Next up on the list here is knowing your net worth at any given time. This is one of those things that I personally like knowing my net worth. You don't necessarily need to know your net worth to be financially literate. I know a lot of people who are doing great financially. And if you ask them what their net worth is, they probably have no idea. They might have a rough number, but they definitely don't know, down to the thousand, what their net worth number is. I think this is good because it does kind of teach you to practice financial literacy, and also it kind of gives you a secondary way to stay on top of your finances. If you know your net worth and you're about to make a very impulsive financial decision, you might think, oh, my net worth's here. If I make this decision, it's going to bring me down to here. Maybe I should think about this before I do it. Something of that nature. Overall, knowing your net worth by the age of 30, I also think this is not necessary. It's good to do, especially if you really, care about finances. But this isn't going to make you more money. Just because you know your net worth doesn't mean you're going to be a better investor. Doesn't mean you're going to have more money in your bank account. It just means you have better visibility on where your money's actually going and how it's working for you. Next up on the list here is having 12 months of cash sitting in a savings account. Now, this is probably the best way to lose your money to inflation, and I would not recommend this as a financial goal. Now, the reason why is the rule of thumb for most people is to have 3 to 6 months of cash sitting in a high yield savings account. I personally like to skew more towards the 6 months. We never know how expensive emergencies are going to be, so I like having a little bit more. But pretty much once you're over that 6 months of savings in that, high yield savings account, you should probably start taking the rest of that money and deploying it into the stock market and actually using that money to grow for you and or paying down debt with it. So this is something that is a no for me. If you have 12 months cash sitting in a savings account, at least make sure it's in a high yield savings account. And if it is, and you can afford, 6 months of your life, if emergencies were to happen or you were to lose your job, it might be a good idea to start rolling some of that money into actual investments. Next up on the list here is having a healthy life plan. Now, this for me revolves around 3 things. It's going to revolve around getting good sleep, it's going to revolve around exercising, and it's going to revolve around eating better. Me personally, I need to probably work on all 3 of them. I kind of suck at all 3 of them, but I would say if you could work on one, that's great. If you can master one by the age of 30, that's great. Ideally, you can get good at all 3 of them by the age of 30, because we all know this. It does not matter how much money you have. It does not matter how rich you are. If you are not in good health, none of it matters anymore. For example, how are you going to drive this 918 Spider right here if you can't even get out of bed because you're sick and you're unhealthy? You're not. Right? It doesn't matter how much money you have. You need to have good health. And honestly, that's probably more important than having money in the first place. So I would say having a healthy life plan, you need this by the age of 30. The sooner you can get on track with your eating, your sleeping, your exercise, the better you're going to feel. The more you're going to be able to enjoy your lifestyle, the more you're going to be able to enjoy your finances, your family, your friends, etc. Next up is consistently investing. And this is probably one of the most important things that we can all learn by the age of 30. And it's just a very important financial habit to have. And it's not really about how much money you invest. I've always been a big kind of advocate that it never really matters how much money you invest. It's just about doing it regularly and sticking to it, whether the stock market's up, whether it's down, whether your portfolio's up or it's down. Just having the, habit in place to consistently invest, that's good. That's really what's going to build your wealth long term. And what's crazy too is even small amounts of money invested consistently, they can beat big investors in the market who are trying to chase big wins, trying to use options. Sometimes simple is better when it comes to investing. So I think for me, this is more about the habit rather than the money or a certain figure goal to try to reach. If you can build this habit by the age of 30, you'll be in a very good spot. You need this. You need to be very good at consistently investing by the age of 30. Next up on the list here is a pretty simple one. I would hope most of you are doing this already, but if you work at a job that gives you a 401k match, you need to max whatever they offer. So for example, in my role right now, my company automatically will match 3% of my 401k contribution. However, if I invest 6% into my 401k, their 3% goes to 5%. So hopefully that makes sense. But basically what I'm trying to say is it would be irresponsible of me financially to not invest 6% to my 401k. That way I unlock that company's 5%. It's literally free money. This is about as free as money comes. Any company that is offering a match on your 401k Whatever the max is, by the age of 30, you need to be doing this. This is also another top tier category of you need this because once again, it's about as free as money gets. If a company will match your 7%, if you put in 7%, you got to do it. Next up on the list here is having some sort of side income by the age of 30. And I think if you are someone out there that wants multiple streams of income, if you can get one by the age of 30, I think that's a great goal. More power to you. That's awesome. But I think for the average person out there, I'm just going to say it off the rip, I don't think this is necessary. And the reason why is because I think you should rely more so on your main income. Your main income is the goal. That should be the thing you're trying to increase. Side income is extra, right? It's great. It's fun money, but you should be focused on, increasing your main income. That's going to give you the most stability over time. Now, 100% side incomes can turn into main incomes, but it's just also a lot more time consuming than people make it out to be. It's a lot harder than people make it out to be. And some versions of side income might cost a lot of money up front. So I think this is not necessary, and it's not something you need to focus on by the age of 30, especially if you're just not interested in starting a side business or starting a side hustle. Next up on the list here is having no high interest debt. So basically high interest debt, if we're talking about it, it's pretty much going to come down to credit cards. But just, I would say most debt in general, by the age of 30, if you can avoid having any credit card debt, I think that's a great goal. If you can avoid having any buy now, pay later debt, because those can sometimes have very high interest rates too, I think that's a great goal. This is something that most of us should try to strive for, especially if you're in very high amounts of credit card debt right now. I have friends even who are in over $10,000 of credit card debt. My biggest, call to action for them, if they wanted to get in charge of their finances, probably before they focus on anything on this list, is to pay down that high interest debt, because that is really going to hold you back for a very long time. So having no high interest debt by the age of 30, this is very solid. I'm not going to say you need this because unfortunately for some people, paying off all their debt by the age of 30 might be unrealistic. Next milestone on the list here is having a 3 to 6 month emergency savings sitting in a high yield savings account, waiting there for a rainy day. I'm going to put this on the list already. You need this. And the reason you need this is because a lot of people like to tell themselves that they'll be prepared for when life throws curveballs at them. And as a 26-year-old now, I can pretty much tell you guys from firsthand experience, and I'm sure you guys can relate, that life will happen when it wants to happen. And it's like the stock market. You cannot control when the red days are going to come. And same thing with emergencies. There's always going to be a random time where life's going good and then you pop a tire, or you have housing issues, or you have car breakdowns, or you have unnecessary payments that need to come up. It just happens. That's how life is. So by having a 3 to 6 month emergency fund, it just makes everything so much better. You have such higher peace of mind. In worst case scenario, if you were to lose your job or something like that, you have this emergency fund and money to fall back on. So this should be money that is not invested, you're very defensive with, and you can fall back on when life happens, because unfortunately, life will happen. Next up on the list here is owning your car outright. So having the title in hand, not having any auto loan. Auto loans hold us back a lot. I've always struggled with auto loans. I am a quote unquote car guy. I love cars. So I always got myself into trouble when it came to auto loans. And even right now, through my financial journey, I'm working on paying off my auto loan. It's something I've always had hold me back with my finances. And over the years, I've gotten a lot smarter. And I think by paying off your car, all that extra money can go to savings, investing, growing your net worth, and it just has better places to be rather than a car loan. As you guys know too, cars are depreciating assets, so they go down the more you drive them. The minute you drive a car off the lot, it loses its value, and every single day you use a car, it goes down in value. So I think by owning a car in your 30s, this is very solid. Obviously, I don't think you need this depending on your financial situation, X, Y, and Z, but overall, this is a very solid milestone to reach before the age of 30. And to finish off the list here, by the age of 30, most of us have increased our pay decently, and we like our jobs. And that's not to say that I don't like my job right now or I'm not happy with my pay, but I think as human beings, we should be striving for new achievements in our life. And I think a really good goal to hit is once you hit that 30 number, you should at least have increased your pay a good amount since, 2025. And you should also be at a job you like, because if you're at a job you don't like, you should probably do everything you can to either get a new manager or get out of there. So I think this is very solid. If you can increase your pay and also like your job by the age of 30, it's going to make everything on this list a lot easier, because how are you going to have a healthy life plan if you hate your job or you're not getting paid enough? How are you going to consistently, pay off debt if you don't like your job and you're not increasing your pay? So I would always say a good rule of thumb is to try to increase your pay and always like your job. Something that pays you decently, that you can afford to live life, and you also like showing up to every single day. So that rounds out my list here for the milestones that I believe all of us should try to strive for and reach by the age of 30. Most of the things here on this list you've probably seen on the internet before, but prioritization wise, I think the things in this you need this column are no-brainers. 100K invested, maxing out your Roth IRA, having a financial system, having a healthy life plan, consistently investing, maxing your 401k or maxing the match of your 401k, and having an emergency fund. These things right here are going to set your 30s up to just be smooth sailing, low stress, high financial growth. So I appreciate you guys for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed it, I would appreciate a subscription and a thumbs up down below. Let me know what other financial tier lists you'd like to see in the comments down below. Also, let me know what milestones you're trying to reach by the time you hit 30. I appreciate you guys for watching the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.